All right, this is going to be a big one. Here we go. The React and Sass zipline build a roguelike dungeon crawler game. So you may not be familiar with this genre of game. Let me show you what it looks like. So basically, roguelikes are very simple games that typically involve exploring a map, and along the way you can pick up items, you can gain health, and you can fight enemies. So this particular roguelike game is very simple and literally just uses squares as its only graphical element. And you'll see that actually this is just part of a much larger map if you want to toggle that. So let's talk a little bit about this zipline and what it's going to entail. First, the rules. Don't look at the example project's code. Figure it out for yourself. Fulfill the below user stories using whichever libraries and APIs you need. Be sure to give it your own personal style. There are literally 1,000 different roguelike games out there, I think, that you can draw inspiration from if you want to do some research. Be sure to use both Sass and React for this project. Now, the user stories, there are quite a few of them. Basically, I have health, a level, and a weapon. I can pick up a better weapon. I can pick up health items. All the items and the enemies on the map are arranged at random, so essentially a procedurally generated map. I can move throughout the map, discovering items. I can move anywhere within the map's boundaries, but I can't move through an enemy until I've beaten it. So essentially, with most roguelikes, you just use the arrow keys, so you would just keep pressing the direction into that enemy until it died, and you would just trade, combat usually. Much of the map is hidden. When I take a step, all the spaces within a certain number of spaces for me are revealed. When I beat an enemy, the enemy goes away and I get experience points, XP, which eventually increase my level. When I fight an enemy, we take turns damaging each other until one of us loses. I do damage based off of my level and my weapon. The enemy does damage based off of its level. Damage is somewhat random within a range. So, for example, an enemy would typically do somewhere between 6 and 8 points of damage. So, if you were to determine that at random, probably 1 out of 3 times it'd do 6 damage, 1 out of 3 times it'd do 7 damage, and 1 out of 3 times it'd do 8 damage. You just use a random function to determine that. When I find and beat the boss, I win. So there has to be a boss that you can beat. And the game should be challenging, but theoretically winnable. So you need to make sure that you don't create situations where it's impossible for the player to win, like sticking them in a room with no exit, for example, or not giving them enough weapons to potentially go and beat the boss. So this is a big challenge. It's going to take a lot of time, but it's going to be quite a bit of fun, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. Be sure to use read, search, ask if you get stuck, and when you're finished, be sure to tell all your friends about it on the Code Review chat room, on Twitter, and on your city's campsite and Facebook. So good luck building this elaborate roguelike challenge. This will give you some serious React and Sass chops by the end of it. Enjoy.